Broadcasting from the Any Hour Services podcast studios, I'm your host, Mike Wilson, and on this episode of In the House, we're actually having another episode of Who's in the House. Stick around. Have you heard that music yet?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. Because that's new music. That's not the music that's in the, the regular
Maybe I have
In the House show.
Sounds familiar.
It does sound similar, and that's why, they did a good job picking a song that, sounded familiar, but it was a little bit different. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's see. You already know In the House is a podcast about the major systems in the house: electrical, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. Who's in the House is a series where we meet the men and women who take care of those systems, the trades people that keep your home safe and comfortable. Today, joining me, we've got Keaton Hancock in the studio. He's an HVAC tune-up technician at Any Hour Services. Keaton, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
We released our first episode of, Who's in the House yesterday, and we've had a lot of people, commenting and things because I don't know. I would say, on the first one, it was like, Corey, welcome to the attic. And we were trying to come up with a name for the space. And so I appreciate all of the comments that people left. We ended up getting welcome to the boiler room. And I think there was one that was welcome to the fiberglass sauna or something like that. I was reading the comments this morning. But anyway, so we're still looking for a name for the studio. So keep the comments coming. What do you want to hear this space called? When I say, Keaton, welcome to studios. And so for the first couple, I was like, welcome to the attic. So we're still looking for a name. So if you got suggestions, leave them in the comments below. But this show is about you, Keaton.
Sounds good.
So take a second and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am from Payson.
Okay.
So I grew up there ever since I was in sixth grade. So I most of my life. I actually live in Elk Ridge now, just 5 minutes east of Payson. So I am the oldest of 4 kids in my family.
Nice.
I have 2 brothers, 1 sister. Let's see. I don't know. What else you want to know?
Well, that's the thing is I open with that question and you get to say whatever. And then we just start, talking and saying different things. You said you were in Elk Ridge from 6 on, or not Elk Ridge, Payson from 6 on. Where were you before that?
So I was born in Idaho, Pocatello. Okay. My mom's from Blackfoot, but we lived there for a year, and then we moved around. My parents had a house in Price. Then we went to California, where my dad's from, Orem for a little bit, and then to Payson.
Nice.
So,
how was it growing up in Payson, Utah?
It was really good. It was awesome. I'm a small town kid, so
yeah.
It's definitely growing, though. It's changing.
It is getting
just
bigger.
like everywhere. Spanish Fork is a lot bigger, too, now. So
very true. What was your favorite thing about growing up in a small town?
Honestly, I would have to say being able to just go up in Elk Ridge and get on a 4-wheeler and go up the mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about load them up and take them somewhere. You can just go and have fun. So.
Just take the 4-wheeler from the house.
Yep.
And you're there. So now, Elk Ridge has been getting bigger as well. It's a nice little area.
Very much so.
Well, so what do you like to do in your spare time when you're not out HVACing?
Me and my wife love to go snowmobiling.
Really?
So, yeah, we actually just got back from a trip up in Island Park. Way fun. They had 4 feet of 4 feet of snow up there.
That's all right.
So, it was awesome. There's so many. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Okay. It's right next to West Yellowstone.
Uh-huh.
So it's endless trails. We went to this really cool waterfall. I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen because the waterfall comes down and on the other side of it is solid pine trees up the mountain, and the mist from the waterfall goes and it freezes that whole side. So
nice.
It's just a solid block.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And so you guys had to snowmobile to the waterfall?
Yep.
Is there a resort up there that you were staying at or something?
It's like lots of cabins. So, yeah, they just rent them out to people. This spot that we went to is actually like during the summer. It's a good tourist spot or whatever you can drive your car to. But when there's 4 feet of snow,
right,
you have to get on the snowmobile. So,
is this a place you go a lot to vacation, or was this your first time?
It was my first time. My wife actually has been a few times with her best friend and their family. So,
how long you been married?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I actually just got married in October last year. So in the pandemic.
So how was a pandemic wedding?
It honestly, I think we got pretty lucky. So right before, so we got married, and then like, I want to say a week later is when they said no gatherings more than like 10, 20 people for anything.
Gotcha.
And so we were like, oh, we were lucky that we were able to have
so it was a fairly
normal
get together there.
Yeah, it was good. So awesome.
Where'd you meet your wife?
Ooh, this is so we have you heard of Mutual, the dating app?
I haven't. I was not I did not grow up in the era of dating apps.
Okay. It's an LDS dating app.
Okay.
Pretty much it's like Tinder kind of.
Okay. LDS Tinder, is that what it is?
Pretty much.
So when you said, have you heard of Mutual? Like, I actually went to Mutual when I was growing up.
No, yeah, I know.
That's where we would get together.
Yep.
The youth groups would.
I think they still call it that too, but
Okay, gotcha.
I guess they just named the app that too. So, but yeah, we met on there actually way back in 2018.
Uh-huh.
A lot of things.
Way back.
Yeah.
Way back. That's how you know you're talking to a youngster when they're like, way back 2 years ago.
Well, what is that? That's like 3, 4. Oh yeah, something like that. But
we not that long ago. Anyway, I don't know that it warrants a way back.
I know. We met back then, and it was like we dated for like a month or two. She lived way up in Magna. Well, that's where she's from, and I'm from down in Payson. So it was a good drive. And we ended up dating for like a month, and she was in the middle of deciding if she wanted to go to BYU, Idaho. Lots of other things were going on. So it didn't work out, and then ended up back in February of last year. We matched again, on the app and hit it off great. And
so when you're like flipping through your app, you see her again.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, swipe. Is it right? Do you swipe right to accept?
Yep.
So you swipe right, and did it accept immediately? Because
I think
I'm assuming,
so. Yep.
I mean, what little knowledge I have from
Yep.
like popular culture making fun of Tinder.
Yeah.
Like, so you swipe one way or the other. If you swipe right and you make a match,
Yep.
it'll like say, hey, this is a match.
Yep.
And if it says it's a match that quickly, can you safely assume that, like, oh, well, she saw me and she already accepted me?
Yep.
All right.
That's exactly how it works.
There you go.
Yeah.
So were you pre-stoked?
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, we gonna, and it was interesting though because it'd been a long time since we talked, and
well, like,
you know what I mean.
A couple months.
No, it like a couple years, and
It
so
hadn't been a couple of years. It was 2 years ago when you guys first met. It may have been like 12, maybe 18 months.
Okay. Maybe something like that. But we ended up talking again, and she just moved back to, she moved to Orem for UVU. And so I was like, oh, that's way closer. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, this is definitely potential now. So then it went great from there.
So you guys get back together or like go on a date, like, and then did you know immediately? It's like, time to delete the app, or like, how does that even work? Like,
yeah, so
do you have to have? Is that a conversation you have to have as a couple? It's like, I think you need to deactivate your account now.
Pretty much, yeah. It's one thing I guess you could say. I would say after like 2-3 dates, we're like, yeah, let's be exclusive.
So do you have a ceremony, like when you're at dinner and you like give each other the other person's phone so you can delete the app?
No,
or do you have to do it in front of them?
No, we were just like, yeah, time to delete it. We're all good. So
I love watching those when I'm scrolling through social and you see those throwback videos, and sometimes you'll come across because before there were dating apps, I guess, I never like did this, but there were dating services where you would record like a video of like, hey, this is who I am, and I like to do this, and you show up. They would dress up in different outfits and like say all kinds of different things, and I guess they would compile these together, and you could get a VHS cassette of like these different guys. I don't know how you would how it would go from there, but anyway. So have you always been like a dating app, like when it came time for you to find a spouse, was that like that's just the way culture was? It's like, okay, cool, download some apps?
Honestly, the main reason I would say that I got into it was I work all the time, and you might be able to meet some people at church, but that's the only, I don't have any other way to meet anybody. You know what I mean?
It's so interesting because like when I got back from my mission, I went back to Georgia. I grew up in small town, and I knew that like the next step for my life was going to be like, all right, cool, start working and eventually like find a wife, have a family type of thing, or at least that's what I had in my head.
Yeah.
And so when I was getting ready to go back, I knew that like, well, I know the eligible females in my town. Like I'm gonna have to like branch out. I moved across the country.
Yeah.
No apps for me to like be like, let's
see. That's what I'm curious. I don't know how you guys did it back in the day. You just had to go up and talk to them, huh?
Yes, you had to say hi.
No, I don't know.
Go up at the club, go to the bar.
Everything is so different now. You can just see everybody's picture, like 500 people, and if you think they're attractive, you swipe, and then if you match, you can talk to them.
Huh. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a difference in I also think of time a little differently, being older than you.
Yes.
Like 2 years equals long time for you. Okay, so when you were growing up in Payson, did you always know you wanted to go into the trades?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so then I'd like to figure out like what that journey looked like, how you go from whatever you thought you were going to be doing, growing up, and then how you ended up, in the trades, and then ultimately how you ended up at Any Hour Services.
Okay.
So when you were in school, high school, like what's your youngest memory of thinking, I want to be this when I get older? How young were you?
Oh, geez. So I would say I thought I knew what I wanted to do, like probably sophomore year, 10th grade.
What was that?
I wanted to be a police officer.
Really?
For a long time. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So that was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a cop. I loved Cops. That was like my favorite show. Is like solid adrenaline. I'm like, yeah.
You're right. This looks like the most entertaining job ever.
Yep.
Walk around humming the theme song.
I know.
Bad boys, bad boys.
Exactly. No, yeah, that was what I thought I wanted to do for a long time. And then I went on my mission. And then when I got back.
Where'd you go?
I went to Tennessee. Knoxville. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's a good mission. So
I grew up in North Georgia, or I spent some time in North. Actually, born in Louisiana. Born in Mississippi because it was the closest hospital across the river. But anyway, ended up in Georgia and then ended up in North Georgia. Okay. And did your mission drop down your area, cover part of North Georgia at all?
It did. So I was in Chattanooga for like 9 months of my mission.
So Chattanooga, I was about like, it's stone throws away, that top corner, Chickamauga, Georgia.
Oh yeah, that was in my mission.
Nice. Did you ever serve there?
I went on exchanges there.
Okay.
That's right by Signal Mountain.
Yep.
So Signal is
Signal Lookout Mountain. You got the Civil War battlefield.
So cool. Yeah.
Monuments there. Stuff like that.
Yeah. So that was all in my mission.
I love that part of the country.
I know.
It's so pretty. Like you actually, living in Utah now, I can see why people in the Rockies would like always like, scoff whenever you talk about the Appalachian mountains as mountains, and like the hills.
I know.
You got no mountains out there.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway. But to that I would say, well, we don't have any trees.
Oh, shit. I know that.
Yeah, it's so cool out there. I loved it. But
cool. Okay, so you go to Tennessee and then
came back. Yeah, so I did one semester at UVU for I was going to do criminal justice, so I wanted to do my major. And
you wanted to do criminal justice because that's what you needed to do to get into the academy or to go and be a cop, or
just to help, I would say. It's just so I could get into it and get all the background and know all the things you should know. So I did that, and I found out quickly that school wasn't really for me. And then from that point, I kind of just found some jobs. Like, there's a guy in my parents' ward that had a stone cutting business. We'd actually cut stone for the outside of homes and stuff like that. So I did that for about a year. Didn't work out. Ended up going to a landscaping business. I worked there for like a year and a half doing paver patios and landscape lighting and all of that stuff. And then right before I started this, where I was at Any Hour, I was at fiber optics company. So I did a lot of fiber optics on telephone poles underground, a lot of running like Cat 6 and stuff in buildings and all of that. And I thought that was going to be my career for a while. I thought that I was going to be in the internet stuff, doing all that, and ended up not working out with the company that I was at. And at that point, all I really knew is that I loved working with my hands.
Okay.
I loved helping people, and I hated staying in one spot all day. So I started talking around, and so Spencer Weekly in our company, he'd been working here for a while, and I started thinking about what would be something I can always do, and I was like, HVAC, interesting. That would be really fun. So I started looking into that. And
how did that come up? Like, I mean, did you see something? Were you sitting at home and you were like, I'm comfortable. How does this work? Like,
so it kind of, my uncle's a plumber in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I thought about that for a little bit. And then
thought about being a plumber down in Las Vegas, like going to work with him, or being one up here?
Just being one. Okay. Yeah. And then they said I should look into being an electrician. So I started.
Who?
My uncle and my aunt. So I looked into that a little bit.
Hang on, I always think that it's funny because this used to always happen on the jobs with me. You know, the plumbers think like, oh, the electricians have it made.
Yeah.
Should have been an electrician. Their job's so easy. They get all the money, like all this stuff. Meanwhile, the electricians are like, man, plumbers have it made.
Yeah.
And like all the trades are always like, you know, that grass is always greener thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they recommended electrician.
Yes.
Why did they say that?
They said that, from what they said, and I don't know if it's true, they said that the industry for electrician was in Las Vegas was a lot slimmer than plumber. And they set up here too. But so I started to look into that a little bit, and then I realized you need to go to school and do all of that. And then so I can't remember exactly. I guess looking at Any Hour, I was like, HVAC. I started looking in that, and I was like, well, actually, you can just get your certifications and get everything. It's a lot quicker, and you can make just as much money. So I did that, and then I talked to Spencer and ended up doing a walkthrough with Dustin. And honestly, so my last company doing fiber optics was very scattered-brained. Like, when I came and did my walkthrough with Dustin, I was literally blown away. Like, the coolest thing ever. Like, I was like, this is so perfect. Everything is set up. We can do our job. We don't have to worry about having all this on our truck. Like, at my last job, it was like, oh, we need this, time to go to Home Depot. Oh, we need this, time to go to Home Depot. You know what I mean? And it was like half the day is spent going and getting things when you could be doing your job. And so that was like huge. I was like, we have our own supply house. We have all these things that are just set up so we can be efficient and do our job. And the culture was a huge thing too that totally blew me away. Like, I tell a lot of our customers that one of my favorite things about Any Hour is our win-win-win. That is totally what kind of won me over and blew me away compared to lots of other companies. So we know that, number one, the customer wins every time. Number two, the employee wins. And number three, the company wins. And those things are like, I don't know what it is, but a lot of other companies don't even care about that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's probably why they're not as successful. I would say that a lot of other companies only care about the company winning. And that's unfortunately why they can't retain customers, employees, really high turnover rate, all of that. And so Any Hour kind of totally blew me away in that aspect of knowing that they actually care about me. They want me to be here forever. And talking to Richard, my manager, about, like, I honestly tell him all the time, I've never been able to say that I want to work somewhere the rest of my life. Hands down. Any Hour really has won me over in that aspect.
What do you think makes the difference? Like, why do you think you couldn't see yourself working somewhere forever before? Like, why do you say that now?
Biggest difference is going to be the company caring. Really. Everyone will say, oh yeah, we care about our employees and we do this and yeah. And then when it gets to it, time for a raise or time for anything, when it's time to take care of the employee, yeah, it's not really working out. We'll have to let you go. Or, you know what I mean? It was just like, I've done everything that you've asked me to do. And then when it gets to the point of actually progressing, they just want to keep paying you the same. You know what I mean? And it's like, keep paying you the same, more responsibility. Just doesn't work out. So
you mentioned when you're thinking about all these different things, and then you thought you were like plumber in Vegas and they recommended electrical, and then you thought Any Hour HVAC. How did Any Hour even hit your radar? Did you know Spencer first and you had heard about Any Hour through him, or did you hear about Any Hour before that?
Biggest thing, honestly, is seeing the trucks everywhere.
Really?
That was my biggest one. Like, I always grown up, I was like, always see the red trucks everywhere, you know? And so once I actually started thinking about it and getting into it, I was like, well, Any Hour is everywhere. They must be the best. We are the best. You know what I mean? Like that was the first thing. And then I was like, oh yeah, Spencer works there. Talk to Spencer, get my interviews. The rest is history.
Did you grow up with Spencer, or how did you meet Spencer?
So Spencer and his older brother, his older brother's one of my best friends from high school. Me and my wife rent their basement apartment at Elk Ridge right now. So they really close with their family. And just that's how I was like, oh, I'm going to get in through him, and then everything went awesome.
So you knew you wanted to work with your hands. You didn't want to sit around in one place. When you were looking at the trades, did you have to make a decision like, oh, new construction or service, or did you always know you wanted to go into service?
You know, I didn't really think about that very much at first. Once I actually got into it, though, doing fiber optics, we did a lot of new construction because you'd have to run the internet lines inside the walls for the computers and everything. And I was all right, but it was no relationship with customer, no being able to, communicate and see what they want and all of that stuff. And that's like one of my favorite things. And I tell my customers all the time, my ultimate goal is to make sure you're happy. If you don't want to do anything and you want to do whatever, that's perfectly fine. That's what makes you happy. If you want to do this. Like that's one thing that I love, is being able to just help the customer with whatever they want to do. I love that I don't have to be a salesman. Right. You know what I mean? So that's, and then once I actually got into homes, it's really, the fun thing about HVAC is what we're looking at and working on is there. You don't have to rip a wall out or do this to get to it, or some plumbing and electrical. You have to do that kind of stuff. That was one thing I really liked, is it's most of the time, it's all right there for you to do.
Gotcha. So, have you always been a people person?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say especially getting into high school is when I would definitely consider myself an extrovert. I love being thrown in the fire.
Kind of a class clown?
No, I wouldn't say that much, but I was definitely a talker.
Yeah.
Yep. The teacher was always like, shh, with everybody in the class,
So you weren't about getting the laughs. You were just about like, did you think that it was like, you just had a lot of stories to tell that were more interesting than
sometimes
whatever the teacher was talking
yes,
about?
sometimes. I like, everyone likes to make people laugh, but yeah, I guess that wasn't always in my head, but I guess I would consider myself pretty funny. I would say so.
Do you keep jokes on deck?
Oh boy. No, I have like the lame Laffy Taffy ones, but that's it.
Sometimes those like, they're hilarious. Give me a
Okay,
Laffy Taffy joke.
how about why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants?
Let me think here.
You got this one.
I think I just got it. Is it in case he gets a hole in one?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Give me another one.
Okay. I think the only other one I have off the top of my head. Why did the duck cross the road?
Why'd the duck cross the road? I don't know.
Because he didn't like being called a chicken.
It seems like if you cross the road, like people would assume like you were a chicken.
No, they say you won't cross the road. You won't do it. You're a chicken.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole premise. Anyway, I get it. Okay. So you talked about school earlier, and you said when you got to college, you realized school wasn't for you. What kind of student were you in high school?
I graduated with a 3.0.
But I mean, did you think that's how bad a student I was. I don't even know what that means. Is that good?
So 4.0 is the best.
Well,
all the way
it's
down
pretty
to
close.
0. It's like
is that 80%?
B and C, I would say.
B and C,
yeah.
That's
so I don't know. I did my job, but I definitely didn't really do it to the full potential I could have.
So you feel like you could have done better if you would have applied yourself.
Yes, but I'm all about having fun.
Okay.
And I just wanted to go and have fun and not have to sit and do homework,
Hey, did you work in high school? Did you have jobs in high school?
Yeah, I did lawn care, just like mowing lawns and stuff.
Like just neighbors, or did you try to have a business where you like printed up business cards and went and handed them out to people?
So I actually worked for a guy in my ward back then. He had like a really small business. There's like 4 or 5 of us. Mm-hmm. So I worked for him, and he is the one that did all of that with business cards. And
it was his company.
Yep. Yeah. So I did lawns from I think like southern Payson all the way to Mapleton, Springville.
So did you get paid by the lawn or by the day, by the hour?
I think it was by the lawn.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember how much. There, just depending on how big it was, you'd get a set price. So.
Sure. So depending on how fast you could get done. Did you get tips from people?
Nope.
No.
I
Lawn
wish.
care's a non-tip business, huh?
I guess it depends on the person. So
depends on the customer, whether they're a tipper or not.
Yep.
There's not a lot of tippers down there.
I know, they're probably like, we're already paying them to do the lawn. So
it's what people think.
I know.
It's usually the number one reason for not leaving a tip. It's like, I already paid you.
Yep. Do
you get tips now?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, so when you were doing the lawn care thing, did you like it? The reason I'm asking is because when I was growing up, all of the jobs that I did in high school, I kind of always felt like I was discovering the things that I didn't want to do. Like I'd do something and be like, well, that's not going to be my life.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
totally get it.
And so talk to me about
that. Was one thing. Yeah, definitely. I was like, yeah, this is what everybody does that's my age. You'll go mow lawns and make a little money for the summer or whatever. My last job doing fiber optics, one thing I definitely knew I didn't want to do, which is a little bit, we actually have a whole department, is excavation. I hated digging in the dirt. That was one thing that, especially like I remember we were doing a project on the side of 215 and it was like 100 degrees outside. And I remember we had to dig this like 4 foot by 4 foot box, because we were putting this big cement box in the ground where the fiber optic lines would go into.
Yep.
And it was like rock hard Utah dirt in the summer. You know what I mean? And it took forever, and it was so hot. And I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
Were you like hand digging this thing?
Yep.
What?
Yep. There's certain areas where you can't have an excavator just because of like utilities that are around it and stuff like that.
Huh.
So they're like, yep, here's a shovel. And it was so
By
bad.
yourself?
There's 2 of us, but it took literally, I want to say at least 5 hours.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. You guys like bang through that.
Yeah. It was not fun.
Construction's hard work, man.
It is.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely, those guys have put in the hard work. So,
all right. So, how long have you been here at Any Hour?
Just over 2 years.
So way back.
Yeah, that's actually good.
I started way back in the day.
No, I can't wait till I get to like the veteran 8 years and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
like, it's gonna be awesome.
That will be awesome. So what? Okay, so you go through Any Hour, you go through the tour. Did you look at any other service type companies or any trades? Did you meet with any other people?
Kind of. I would say it would be just from word of mouth mostly, especially once I got into the job though.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, holy cow, black and white in some of the areas. Like there is so much detail in HVAC that has to be paid attention to, especially in installation, the different adjustments you have to do to certain equipment, all of that kind of stuff. There is things that cannot be missed when you install a system. And that was where I could kind of see, oh, this company installed this equipment, this one did this, and this did this. There's just big thing that Any Hour really blew me away was with we actually have to pull permits and stuff to install equipment, all of that. A lot of other companies will just say, oh yeah, give me your money, I'll put it in. They don't pull the permits. They don't bring the gas lines up to code, all of that kind of stuff. Like that's like should be the law. You know what I mean? Like that's the base ground. You should start there and work your way up. And unfortunately, that's not the way it is with some of the cases. But that's where I could kind of see the difference was going actually to homes, talking with customers, see the way that other people have treated them. I absolutely love this scenario, and this happens to me. I've been in homes where I'm doing a tune-up on the furnace or air conditioner, and the homeowner, I've been down there like 15, 20 minutes working on the system. The homeowner comes down, they're like, is everything okay? Like, are you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all good. And they're like, wow, you're really thorough. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking the time to be really look into my system and see what's going on. The last guy was literally in and out in 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, I don't know how you can check anything in 15. You know what I mean? Like I
could check the filter.
I know, that's it.
I could do that. I could probably even do a temperature rise.
Yeah.
Stick the thermometer in as long as the holes are already there,
Yeah.
I can check a couple things.
So that was I was like, I'm usually on a job for at least an hour, checking everything. We want to make sure that everything's working safe, how it's supposed to. And it will take that long, at least, to do your system. So I love when people can see the difference, to be able to see that we actually want to take our time, make sure they're safe and happy. So
yeah, you actually, bring up a really good point, because when I'm on the radio, talking to people about the tune-ups and things, to me, I guess, because I've been here since 2001, so like the way that we do things, maybe I just am blind to how poorly other people do it or how less thorough they are. And so, when the host asks me, how long does this take? I just, hour and a half, depending on, the system and where it's at and difficulty to get the things. And I've never thought to actually make that contrast that in some people's minds, they might not see value in maintaining their system because the guy that came out before didn't do anything. And they got no value out of it.
Totally get it. Get it. Yep.
It's like going to get your oil changed and they don't actually change the oil.
Yep. There's one thing, in my opinion, for a furnace tune-up, there's safety-wise one thing that is so important that needs to be checked every year is checking the heat exchangers.
Mm-hmm.
Heat exchangers are, for people who don't know, the way the furnace works is the flames blow into these metal plates called heat exchangers.
Yep.
They get super hot, and then the blower motor will suck all the cold air in your home and blow it past them. That's how it heats the air. So those metal plates, when they get really hot over the years, that metal expands and contracts. Main thing we can never ever see on those is cracking, excessive rusting, anything like that. If we ever do see those things, the Natural Gas Association of America requires that either the heat exchanger is replaced or the furnace is replaced, because the danger is what happens is inside those plates is the byproduct of natural gas burning is carbon monoxide. Mm-hmm. And that's what goes out your flue pipe. But if it's cracked, we have the risk of it leaking into your airstream, and then that's when it gets really scary. So, number one thing, no matter what, that technician should always be checking those every year when he does your tune-up. And that's what I'm saying. That alone will at least take 25 minutes, half hour to get to those and look at them thoroughly. So,
what did the training process look like when you started? Because you were doing construction, you were in homes, you kind of knew how the homes, the skeleton of them were. But talk to me about HVAC and that training process.
So I had zero knowledge of any HVAC, heating or cooling. And so when I started, it was like I was like a homeowner. You know what I mean? It was bottom here, and they literally had to break down everything for me. Corbin is one of our service techs now. He was one of the guys that trained me. I remember I remember him telling me exactly the exact process of how everything works on a furnace. This motor turns on, and then this switch activates, and then the igniter. You know what I mean? So many different. It's just all a process, and that's how the system turns on. And so that's kind of my base where I started, was figuring out the order of operations and what each part does, and then from there how to test those parts and if they're working safely, and finding out like every specific furnace has a required temperature readings they can never be above. So all of that, testing temperatures, making sure airflow's good, vents are open, all of that kind of stuff. And that's how it kind of just started, just little by little by little. So many questions. I've actually had the opportunity to have a few guys ride with me, and I train them. And my favorite guys to train are the ones that ask questions, because I remember when I was being trained, if I didn't ask questions, I would have been nowhere. You know what I mean? And so the ones that don't ask a lot of questions, I'm like, come on, man. Like, I don't know I don't know what to train you. You know what I mean? Like, just ask me, and then we can break it down. It's just like kind of like a customer. If the customer's right there going through everything with me, I have the opportunity to teach them a little bit, and then it makes a lot more sense to them. So that's kind of how it happened with me, is just little by little things would come up. And honestly, the one thing that I really love about this job too is I'm still learning. There's a lot of things that I'm still learning. I mean, I've only been doing it for 2 years. So
way back when you started back in the day.
I know. And I definitely have grown leaps and bounds from that point, but there's so much that you can always learn. And so I still call my managers, say, how does this, what's this, and that's what I love too, is always being able to grow and learn about things. It's always a continuous process. So
with the certifications, because I know there's quite a few certifications. I mean, just for the gas, the RMGA, that's a several night class for, a while that you go through just to get that certification. How are there technicians out there, not with us, because I know that's something that we do, but like, are there technicians out there that don't have those kinds of certifications?
I would say probably.
Tell me, like, how important to your training and understanding, are those certifications? Like, what did you get out of those? Like, how much better of a technician are you for, like, having gone through that certification process?
Going through those, it's just like school, honestly, like going to college. But it's a lot shorter. Those things that they teach you totally make everything else make a lot more sense. Like in the RMGA, they talk about how to size the flue pipes, how to size the gas lines going to certain equipment. According to whatever BTU output a furnace or a water heater or any gas equipment has, you have to have a certain size gas line to it. So you have to size that properly. Also, combustion air, that's the fresh air inlet that comes to the room so that the fire can breathe properly. All of those kind of things totally make sense of how to do the equations a lot better. Like, I didn't really understand that stuff until I figured that out. That's one thing that does get scary, I would say. If you don't know what you're doing and you're installing a new equipment for a homeowner and not just maintaining one that's already there, you need to know that kind of stuff, because it can be very dangerous if those things aren't installed properly. And unfortunately, I have been in quite a few situations where I've been to homes where somebody installed a piece of equipment and it wasn't installed properly, and it was very dangerous working at that point. It was working in their home, and that's where it gets kind of hard to convey to the customer, hey, not trying to sell you anything here. This is just not safe. It needs to be fixed. So it's this way. Gas line's not up to code, something like that. Should have been done when it was installed, but unfortunately they didn't do it. So that kind of stuff was the big difference maker, I would say, for the certifications, is being able to find out the way things need to be done to be safe. And then just kind of being able to follow that process when we're actually working. So
what's one of the, like, when you're going out and maintaining these systems, what's one of the most dramatic transformations you've seen in the way a furnace or air conditioner was working when you got there compared to after you had performed just the tune-up that they called you out there for?
I have a good example, I think, off the top of my head. So I was doing an air conditioner tune-up. I want to say it was last year. So air conditioners, they have two parts of them, an inside portion and an outside portion. That's one thing a lot of people don't know right off the bat. They just think the outside unit is what it does. It's true. So we have two portions. The inside part sits right on top of the furnace. It kind of looks like a radiator. On a car, it sits like an A-frame usually. The unit outside pumps refrigerant to that coil, and then it runs through the coil, and then the motor on the furnace, the blower, will suck the hot air and blow it through those coils, and that's where the refrigerant strips the heat from the air. So airflow is so important with air conditioning. One thing to everybody, if you ever notice ice on your air conditioner, it's really, really bad. Never should be happening. There's a few things that could be happening if you do notice that. Dirty filters. If dust and gunk has ever gotten past the filter and gone and gets stuck and compacted inside those coils on the inside part, that's really bad. That'll cause like an airflow restriction, meaning the blower can't push air through the coil quick enough. And then if that refrigerant doesn't have enough heat going past it, it gets super, super cold, and then that's when ice forms. And with that as well, if you go to the outside part, that has to be perfectly clean too. So number one enemy of an air conditioner is cottonwood trees. They are super bad, because what happens is that fan motor on top of the AC, it sucks all the hot air in the sides of the unit and blows it out the top, and the refrigerant is running around the outside of it. So if we don't have enough air going through the side of it, that's another thing that'll cause your AC to not work how it should. So I remember going to a house that AC was working. They felt like it was on all day. So I went down and I just found that coil was like completely compacted with dog
the evaporator
hair.
coil inside.
Yeah, the inside part, the little A-frame. It was just super compacted with dust and dog hair and all this stuff. And then I went to the outside part and we had the cotton too. And I was like, holy cow. And the unit, I want to say, was like 8 years old. So it wasn't super old. ACs usually go around 12-ish years. So we still had some life left in it. And so at that point, I was like, presented to the customer, okay, this is what's going on. They decided to go ahead with the work and have me clean the whole system and then go from that point and test the refrigerant. So I cleaned everything so every AC, when the AC is running, we need to have, it's called a temperature split. The temperature between the air blowing out of the vents and the temperature coming into the vents. Those two temperatures, we need to see usually between 18 to 21, 22 degrees of a temperature difference. between them. If they're ever too low, so like 12 or 32, like way big differences, there's big issues somewhere. This one was running way too cold. It was like way up there, like 32, 35, and there was ice starting to form on the inside part of the unit. So I cleaned those coils, cleaned everything perfect. Unit literally had the perfect 20-degree split, how it was supposed to. And the only reason it wasn't working right is because it was super dirty. And that was one thing that the customer, I would hope after I left, they are like, wow, this works a lot better. You know what I mean? After they actually felt it for a while. But because it was before, it just wasn't cooling how it was supposed to. So
that's pretty cool. And I mean, after you do those, like, I'm assuming those are the things that like kind of give you some job satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Like,
I love it.
You know, when we make the videos for our YouTube channel, like I've gone through and I did a video cleaning the evaporator coil and a video cleaning the condensing coil outside, and both of them, the condensing coil outside was less fun for me than the inside coil. But those things, people don't realize the negative effects that lack of airflow has.
Absolutely.
But as I'm going through and doing these types of things, and one thing that I hope that people get from the videos is that, like, if you know what you're doing and you have the tools, all you like, that's what you need to do it, and that's what most homeowners don't have. But just because you're bringing someone out to your home to do it doesn't mean that it's easy to do it. Like, it's difficult to go through and do those things, and that time that you put in learning what you're doing and knowing and having the investment that you make
Absolutely.
in the tools, like,
Yes.
Some of the videos I'm like, hey, as long as you have a meter that'll test this, and a lot of people don't realize that, like, that's a $250 meter.
Exactly.
And like, oh, well, if you have this meter, you can do these things. But like, hey, for $99, somebody can come out and tune up your furnace. A lot of times you can get a discount on that particular thing. So at what point, is it worth it? And so anyway, I have a lot of respect for all of the different trades as I'm, doing these different things, because I got my start as an electrician, by trade. And so as I'm going through and doing plumbing how-tos and HVAC how-tos, I'm doing them from the perspective of, I would say, the above average homeowner, just because I've done so many different types of things, but I really am that average homeowner that, like, might know a little bit, but like, I know enough that if I didn't have you guys as a resource to go and like talk to and be like, hey, what am I doing here? To ask over and over again. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with Richard and been like, okay, wait, temperature split is what?
Yeah.
And it's once you know how to do it and you know what you're doing, like, oh, it's super simple. And it's a really easy, that's one of my favorite things. Like, hey, you want to know if your system's working the way it should? If you can identify the return and the supply and you've got a digital read thermometer, you can probably get a pretty good gauge. And, if you're 18 to 22 degrees, you're probably okay. If you're outside of that, call somebody because there's something going on. Exactly. And so anyway, so I love that, you obviously still have passion and excitement for learning the trade, and what I've noticed is that regardless of how long you've been in the trade, like, there's always more things that you can learn and do there. So you thought when you did the tour with Dustin at Any Hour and you were like blown away, oh, win, it seems they have their stuff together. What, now that you've been here for, I mean, almost forever, that 2 years, how is it, how is it different? Is it like what you thought it would be? Like, the honeymoon period obviously is over. Now you're in it. Like, talk to me about how it is here compared to what you thought it was going to be.
Honestly, I guess I would say I'm still in the honeymoon. That's one thing that
still
really,
love it, huh?
Yes, it. So our owners, Wyatt and Jeremy, are very, very good at setting a fire under us, I guess you could say. That's like, whenever they come and speak to us, it's like, oh, I want to go out and have work. You know what I mean? Like, it's super exciting because they have so much passion and enthusiasm for what we're doing. You don't see that all the time. You know what I mean? Like the owners at the last company as I was at with certain things, like they don't care. All they care about is making their money. And that's not the way they are here. Like they will consistently, we have trainings every week, like once a week at least. We're going to come and we're going to learn more what we need to do. Other companies are like, go and do your job. They don't care about doing all that kind of stuff and checking on you and doing all that kind of stuff. And that's what's kind of, it's always consistently set. Yeah, I have down days every once in a while, but everyone does. But you remember what the ultimate goal is and what you're here to do. And when you go to houses, and for instance, I was at one the other day. That was, the furnace was like 18, 19 years old, and it was not working safely. It had a lot of big cracks in those metal plates we were talking about, and the homeowner, an old lady, she's like, yeah, the last little bit ago I was getting headaches, nausea, all the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I could have literally just saved this lady's life. Like that's when you see those scary stories on the news where people go to sleep and don't wake up. Like that's the big difference maker. Like that kind of stuff is like, man, I love my job. And I think, I don't know if you can kind of relate this to being a police officer. Like there's a lot of things that originally why I wanted to be a police officer is because I can help people. And I'm not staying in one spot all the time. I have a dispatcher. We have dispatchers. It's really cool. There's a lot of things that it can be similar. I would say to that is I'm always going somewhere. I'm getting called to do things and help people. And so that's just like instances like that is where it's always kind of rejuvenating to be able to like, man, I love my job. You know what I mean? And so that's where I would say I don't honestly personally don't know if I'll ever be out of the honeymoon stage because it just always gets better. Every year, every day. It's like, oh, awesome. Here's a brand new person I'm going to meet that I've never even met before, but I'm going to be their friend. It's so awesome being able to meet new people and make friends and help them make sure they're happy, warm, comfortable, all of that.
If you had to drill down like one thing that's your favorite thing about being at any hour, could you like drill it down to like what's your favorite thing?
Man, there's so many things. I would probably say being the difference maker of those customers that really appreciate us and know that what we do is essential and needed, and they're happy and they're nice and they want to be our friend. We're the same way. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, there's so many other technicians, so we get a bad rep sometimes from a lot of other guys who just want to sell you something and just want to make their check. They just want to do this. That's not the way we are at any hour. Like, if that is ever an experience that you have with any hour, I would hope that you call the office and that will be taken care of because it's not supposed to ever be that way. That's the big thing I would say is just being able to go and I've been in scenarios where people have obviously had some really sour experiences with service companies. And I walk in and I'm starting to introduce myself and they're like, just so you know, right off the bat, I don't want to buy anything. I don't want you to upsell me and I'm not going to buy anything. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay, hold on. That's perfectly fine. My job.
Who hurt you?
I know, exactly. I'm like, my job is to make sure you're happy. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to go over everything, tell you exactly how it's working. If you don't want to do anything, that's perfectly fine. It's your home. You're the one that lives here. So that's the big difference. And at that point, they're like, what? You're not going to make me do something? No, like, I don't care. I don't live here. It's not my house. And that's where they're like, wow, like that's really the difference is if you can just show people that you actually care about them and you're not there to try to force them to buy something, that's honestly, I think, why any hour is so successful.
I love that. And people always think that I'm being, disingenuous when I'm on the radio. And, if I'm talking about, tune-ups and I'm offering a tune-up special, and the, when the host is like, hey, what's the deal? And I stop him and I'm be like, well, let me just say this first. I don't actually care if you call any hour to get this done.
Yeah.
If you've got a relationship with an HVAC company and they've been taking care of your furnace and you like them, call them.
Yeah.
They could use the work.
Definitely.
But, if you don't know someone, like, hey, give us a shot and I'll save you some money too, type of thing. And so I think that people think that that's just talk. They think it's he's just trying to trick me. It's like a, type of thing. But like,
I know
we got lots of calls and there's lots of, people out there that, we want to help as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But, I'm not trying to steal anybody's girlfriend.
Yep, exactly.
So anyway, two more questions and then we'll start to wrap up. Challenges being an HVAC technician. What's the most challenging part of being an HVAC technician?
Ooh. First thing that comes to my mind is, I would say, definitely dealing with those people that have been wronged by another company, another technician. It's like anybody. Nobody likes to be mistreated or treated rudely. It's really hard to go into somebody's house and you just get the vibe the whole time they just don't really want you to be there. You know what I mean? Like, in that instance, I'm like, why did you call me? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure you're happy. Like, honestly, genuinely. The hardest thing is just being able, sometimes some people just had a bad day or something and they just don't treat you very nicely. That's probably the hardest thing, is when people aren't very kind in the situations they're in. And I get it. It's not fun to have to repair your home. It's the worst part about being a homeowner. And that's why we try to make it as easy as possible and save you the most money and all that kind of stuff. That's definitely the hardest one, is just when customers are not kind to us. I would say another hard one, and this one's hard, but it's fun, is when something's going on in a unit and I can't figure it out. That's where it gets hard sometimes. Is the awesome thing about any hour, though, is I have managers that I can call that have years of experience, and they know what's going on, and from there they help me, and they help me learn and grow, and then I get better, and then I can help my other technicians get better, and we just all want to help each other. I would say those are probably the top two hardest ones for me, but definitely just I would definitely say I'm a bit, like I said, I'm an extrovert. I love to talk to people, and like I said, I love to get to a home and that they're not happy to get there, and then I leave and they're very happy. That's my favorite thing.
Do you feel like you made the right decision going into the trade? You were obviously at a crossroads, at some point trying to figure out, what am I going to do career-wise? Looking back, way back 2 years ago when you, when you made this decision, are you reinforced that, like, this is definitely the right decision, or like, how do you feel about the decision now to go into the trades?
Almost every day, that's reinforced that I absolutely want to be here forever. There's the whole time I've been here, I honestly can't think of any instance where I'm like, do I really want to do this the rest of my life? The way I was raised is, when I do something and I commit to it, I'm not a quitter, and I'm just going to do it forever and find the positive, see what I need to do. Any hour makes it so easy to do that. Literally, like, there's just so much positive and so many things that are going on, that you have to be a pretty negative person to try to, you know what I mean? Oh, it sucks for this and this. And that's one thing I really love about NER too, I was going to mention, is we have, how many employees do we have? Like 230 something.
I don't know.
It's around 300.
I know when we do the company parties, there's a lot. Like,
yeah. So
250 to 300 somewhere.
Yeah. Every technician that I am friends with in my department, we don't get a lot of interaction with other guys, but everybody from any hour that I've ever talked to, most of the time at other companies, you'll be like, yeah, you find employees there. It's a job. It is what it is. I have to go to work. Everyone at any hour that I know is like, this place is awesome. They're so cool. They treat their customers how they're supposed to. They treat us like they actually care about us. And that's like unheard of. You know what I mean? I don't know anywhere that you can have everybody like on the same page and happy. There's always just someone that's a downer. I think it goes back to our hiring process, honestly. Like they say one in 20 guys that we interview gets hired.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy and Wyatt are so specific on how that technician needs to be. They're not going to just hire anybody off the street, because we don't want ever to get any of those instances that we're talking about with a technician and a negative experience in a customer's home. So that's why that I think is so thorough. But
I'm always amazed at like how many, I mean, just tens of thousands of visits that we do a year. Like, I mean, over 60,000 visits that we're making, interacting with homeowners every year, and how few, like how few those instances are where a negative review gets sent. Mm-hmm. Like so few that like we jump on it immediately, and it's like there's an email is sent to about 5 or 6 different people who are like, what just happened? Why did this happen? Where did the breakdown in the system occur? Let's get it corrected. Let's get that person happy. And then let's dig in and find out, was that on us? Was that expectations that were off? How do we, improve? And so, we're constantly trying to get better as well. And so that journey that you guys are on, trying to improve your craft and what you're doing, we're trying to improve our craft and get better as well.
Yeah.
And all of that energy invested in that is awesome. So, somebody that's thinking of getting into the trades, what would you say to them?
Honestly, I would tell them I love it, and it's been great for me. I would definitely tell them that it's work. It's not sitting around at a desk. You are going to be in an attic, in a crawl space. You're doing all these things that aren't the funnest sometimes, but it's part of the career. Someone needs to do it so that people can be comfortable in their homes. I would definitely tell them that first, and then make sure that they have a drive to help people in customer service. That's all you do every day. Like, if you don't like that and you're not very good at that, it's probably not a good road for you. You definitely need to have that love for helping people and not being a salesman. You know what I mean? Especially at any hour, you just want to make sure they're happy. So that's what I would say to anyone trying to get into it. Make sure you have those aspects, and then you love working with your hands, and you always want to grow and get better.
How big of a deal is it that you, like the company that you choose to like work for? How much of a difference do you think that plays in, do you think that if you were somewhere else that HVAC would have the same like appeal to you?
Honestly, if it is anything like my previous companies, no, absolutely not.
So I think the company you work for can really like enhance or devalue what you're doing, and as far as like your experience with
I would absolutely say so. I think that's with any career. Anywhere you go, if you don't feel valued, if you don't feel like they care about you, why would you want to invest your life and so much of your time to help them grow and make more money? You definitely need to be somewhere that you see that they value you and that they want you there forever. I'm sure there's great companies out there that are like that. My experience, Any Hour is the only one that has treated me that way. But I'm sure there's lots of them. I would hope so, at least.
Sure. Well, Keaton, this has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
You got any final thoughts or word, like shout outs you want to like?
Ooh, shout out to my wife, Chanel. I love her. That should be it, I think.
Okay, so everyone that comes on the show, we end with a segment that we call Don't Judge Me. Okay? I'm just going to give you a series of either or options.
Okay.
You're going to choose one. Don't worry about overthinking it.
Okay.
Like you just say, whatever. First knee-jerk response that you get. No one's going to judge you because we tell them up front, hey, don't judge me.
Okay.
So, all right, you ready for this?
Yes, let's go.
All right. Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
Water or soda?
Soda.
Country or pop?
Oh, country all day.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Football or basketball?
Football all day.
Indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor.
TV or movies?
Movies.
Jim and Pam or Dwight and Angela?
Jim and Pam.
Okay. The Bachelor or The Bachelorette?
Bachelor.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Pedicure or manicure?
Jeez, I don't know. Pedicure.
Do you know what a pedicure is?
I know their fingernails and toes. I don't know which one's what.
Okay. Well. Let's see. Flowers or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Pizza or burgers?
Pizza.
Does pineapple have any business being on pizza?
Absolutely.
My man. All right. Well, thanks for being here. It's been a great conversation. Really enjoyed talking to you. That's the show, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Tuesday with a new episode of In the House. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. I've been your host, Mike Wilson, and you've been listening to In the House.